Hey, this is the Kaufman is Alive YouTube channel. I look at comic books new and old. Today I'm looking at an old comic book, Crisis on Infinity Earths, #1 by DC Comics. This was the first issue of a 12-part, they called it Maxi series, but I guess essentially it's a mini-series, which was DC's response essentially to Marvel's Secret Wars. So Marvel did a big crossover with all their heroes and villains, and DC about a year later doing the same thing. So now there's a lot more involved in this crossover though than in the Secret Wars crossover. DC's trying to fix their continuity that got super messy over the years with the creation of multiple Earths and multiple Flashes and Supermen and Batman from, other worlds, and it just started to get really messy, and writers essentially they couldn't keep up with all of it. And the writer, Marv Wolfman, gets into that here. He's got a letter here to the readers explaining where Crisis comes from, the goal of it, the reason for it. And there's some interesting things in the letter here. He even mentions how Len Wein was supposed to be the co-writer of this series, but he was busy at the time writing the DC Who's Who comic series, so he wasn't a part of it, but a lot of his ideas helped shape this particular issue and a lot of the overarching concepts of the Crisis on Infinity Earths. And we, kind of a big bang idea to this as well, where this is the beginning of a new DC universe from this point going forward, which is what their goal essentially is. I really like the logo too. I think logos don't really get talked about enough in comic books, especially these days. But a good logo really makes a comic book, and this one's no exception. It's got the cool 3D kind of style to it, and then it's got the Earths in the background of it. And it's got the Infinite Earths, little scroll there. It's just a real clean logo. I really like it. And of course the cover too is a double gatefold cover. It's got all the heroes, struggling in space here, which, really sets the tone for what this issue is. All the heroes just kind of lost, not really knowing what's going on. We've got Pariah here, just the dread on his face. And George Perez, of course, is the artist. A lot of people consider this some of his best work. He's a Teen Titans artist. Lots of work at DC and Marvel over his entire career. And, just the Earth here, getting the power going through the Earths here. All the weird poses the heroes are in as they're, flying through the vacuum of space. And we got Harbinger here, who's just kind of not struggling, which, as we'll find out in the issue, there's a reason he's placed her like this in this image. So, and we get a little figure here in the background too. So just really great stuff. Really interesting images here, just surreal, kind of abstract ways to depict the Infinite Earths. Real interesting. So this character is Pariah, and he's basically cursed to witness these atrocities over and over again, these Earths being destroyed. Kind of similar to what they did in the Loki TV series, where they had to keep reliving the horrible events over and over again. But we're seeing one here from Pariah's perspective. And we're already in an alternate Earth here. This is Earth 3, where there are no superheroes. It's just all run by supervillains. We've got Ultraman here, who's like the evil Superman. Power Ring, who's like the evil Green Lantern of Earth 3. So, there's Owlman and Johnny Quick, who's like the Flash of Earth 3. And we got Luthor, who's essentially a Superman of this Earth. And Superwoman. These characters are in the Crime Syndicate, which is like the Justice League of Earth 3. And they're all dying here in this multiverse extinction event here. And Luthor flies home. He's married to Lois Lane in this universe, and they're going to send their kid into outer space. So kind of a reverse Superman here, which is really cool. And we get Pariah explaining who he is to Ultraman here, and what's going on with the Earth being destroyed. They send their son up into the space here, and it actually finds its way through the multiverse. As Luthor was explaining, that he actually discovered that there are multiverses, and he thought he found a way to contact them. So he's sending his son through the multiverse, through reality, into Earth 1. And it actually comes in contact with these beings here, who we learn is Lyla. And Lyla is basically a slave to this other being. And he tells her to use her powers to become, what she is. He says energize what she really is. And she does so and, excuse me, and becomes Harbinger. It says her mission begins. And this guy, who we don't know who he is yet, he sends the Harbinger out into all the alternate Earths to collect specific heroes that he needs for his plan, whatever it is. So we go to Grella City. Harbinger collects Grella here. Grella Grodd, I believe. And we get Legion of Superheroes here. Dawnstar gets taken away by Harbinger. We get Firebrand taken away by Harbinger. Blue Beetle as well. She's just going through and collecting all these heroes here. And, I don't want to discount and just, run past all the art here by George Perez, but it's just great art. Old school style, of course, but I think it would really hold up today. Just great work, good figure shapes, excellent hand drawings, faces, really interesting, powers, displays everywhere. Backgrounds, different backgrounds on every page, buildings. We're in a different setting on each page, and you feel like it. You really understand that reading the comic book. She continues to just collect heroes here. Like, this page is just really great. We get Arion here, who's the Lord of Atlantis. He's traveling across this ice bridge that he created with his mystical spells. We get a top view down from him. Then we get a bottom view from him as Harbinger's coming down. Then we get a face view of him, a face view of Harbinger. She smashes his ice bridge, and he goes falling through the ice. Great detail on all the little shards of glass here, shards of ice. And as he's falling, she teleports him away, though, so that he doesn't die, which is what she's been doing with all these heroes. We get a brief battle here between Firestorm and Killer Frost, which is a nice little touch here by George Perez, as they both get captured again by Harbinger. And Killer Frost, who was against Firestorm, she gets her brain changed around here by the Psycho Pirate, and she falls in love with Firestorm, which kind of becomes a running gag throughout the rest of the comic, where she's just completely in love with him. So we find where all the heroes have been taken here. Deep inside this chamber, the Monitor's satellite. So we find out that there's this character called the Monitor that is collected everybody here. And that's the main difference, I'd say, off the bat between this and the Marvel Secret Wars is, and not to really compare the two. That's not the point of this video, but in Secret Wars, all the heroes and the villains, they just get teleported with no real rhyme or reason or explanation. And in this comic, we get all the explanation and all the backstory as to where and why they get teleported to this place where they're all going to be held and crossing over. So at this point, another thing I wanted to mention was just the lack of ads in this comic book. I mean, there's no ads anywhere. Which in a giant crossover book like this that you'd get today from DC or Marvel, there's be just filled with ads. As a big crossover book like this is one that they're trying to sell to the mass audiences, and one that's going to be bought probably more than any books, all year, so they'll fill those up with ads. But great page here by George Perez. Just wild shapes here depicting the Monitor's chamber. And, it's almost like George Perez's art just reminds me of like a Where's Waldo picture, like on almost every page. He's just always got so much detail and so much going on, and usually lots of characters he's playing around with too. And there's no shortage of that here. All throughout, we've been having this little creepy shadow guy creeping around throughout this whole issue as well. And finally, the shadows all attack. And we get a big battle here at the end of the issue with everybody. And they're just as confused as kind of the reader is, all the heroes and villains here, as they don't know who these people are that they're being attacked by, and they don't really know why they've been brought here. So we get a cool thing here of Obsidian, who was in Infinity Inc. and Justice Society of America and Justice League, and he's got like a shadow power where he can turn into a shadow. So he's using it here to dodge all the shadow guys, which I think is pretty cool, as he's teaming up with Superman. And eventually the giant light shines on everything, and the shadow creatures leave. As the Monitor's finally showing his face, he explains that he was not the one who sent these shadow creatures here. He didn't set them up. This wasn't planned for, although he says it was not unexpected. And we get the first reveal of the Monitor. And kind of a cool costume. Pretty dated look, though. Especially the hair and face style, but sort of a Mad Max feel, I suppose, to it. And we get the rest of the letter here from Marv Wolfman. And a sketch here of Pariah as well. So yeah, that's about it on this issue. Really great art. Really good story too. And I'd say it holds up pretty well. I got this on Free Comic Book Day this year, actually. I just picked this up a couple weeks ago. I got it for about $13, so it was an affordable book. Keep your eye out for it, I suppose. And go check out my channel. I've got about 30 other reviews so far, and I post every day. It's a brand new channel I've got going on here, and I just love talking comic books and sharing that with you. So if you like what you have heard here and saw, please subscribe and like the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.